All right. Here is a brief little lecture on African Americans to help jumpstart your research. The opportunities for African Americans in the West are to flee the South in search of a better life. So these are freedmen, just like we talked about in Reconstruction, and they're trying to get away from the discrimination that they're experiencing during Reconstruction in the South. So they're going to move west. Some are going to become cowboys. Some are going to become soldiers in the army, and they're known as buffalo soldiers, but most of them will become farmers because this is a chance to own their own land. And the Exodusters is what they're going to be known as, and that comes from the Bible, of the book of Exodus, when the Jews escape Egypt, okay? And so this is just a kind of a play on words, but they're going to be known as Exodusters because they're creating African-American farming communities on the Great Plains. The challenges for African Americans, similar to just settlers, is they have to adapt to life on the prairie. There's very little natural resources, so they're going to live in sod houses. The weather is harsh. It's dry. It's hot in the winter or summer. It's cold in the winter. There's grasshopper swarms that'll blow in and eat all their crops. Grasshoppers will eat everything they can, and then they move on. Cowboys will face harsh conditions living on the trail, just like regular cowboys would. The conflicts they're going to have in the West, the African Americans, is they're going to have conflicts with lots of groups because of racism. So they're going to have conflicts with other settlers who don't want black neighbors. They're going to face conflicts with townspeople who don't want to let African Americans settle in their towns. A really famous example of this is in Lincoln, Nebraska, where a group of Exodusters will settle there, and the residents of Lincoln, Nebraska will actually rise up and drive them out of town because they don't want African Americans settling there. So they're going to run into conflicts with those folks. And then, just like every other group, they're going to have conflicts with Native Americans because Native Americans live there, and they're basically invading their homeland, just like every other group is invading the homeland of American Indians. So that ought to jumpstart you a little bit on African Americans as you do your research.